Ray. Welcome to my channel. I hope you all are doing well. Today, I'm going to give you kind of a story time video, and she don't know what she wants to do. It's going to be kind of how I handle the frustrations of IBD, how it's affected my life, and in a way prevented or turned me down different path to where I am now. So that kind of frustration of how it affects my life. So with that, if you like the content I am making, please hit the subscribe button. Make sure the bell notifications are on. Like, comment. With that, let's jump into it. As some of you may know, but if you don't, I was diagnosed with IBD when I was 10 years old. Initially, I was misdiagnosed with ulcerative colitis, which is still a form of IBD. When we talk about IBD, we talk about two main diseases, ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. I have Crohn's disease, which the difference between the two, well, first off, I will put a link to a few of my IBD videos in the description box down below, which you can watch if you want to get more, if you want to explore more about these two diseases, which I definitely encourage you to do, because the more we understand these autoimmune diseases, the more we understand people who have these and struggle with these diseases, the more we can be compassionate and empathize with these people. The more we can see somebody who may look okay on the outside, be wearing makeup, and go to a ball game, but be in dire pain and hiding it because they deal with it every day. The more we don't question what they are going through. Back to what I was talking about. The difference between the two. Crohn's disease can affect any part of the GI tract, which is from the mouth to the anus, but it is normally seen in the small intestine. Ulcerative colitis is mainly in the large intestine, also known as your colon. When it comes to disease pattern, there is a difference between the two, which also helps doctors tell the difference between the two, besides where the location of the disease is. Ulcerative colitis disease pattern is continuous in the area that it's in. When it comes to Crohn's disease, the disease pattern is patchy. It has patches of diseased intestine next to healthy intestine. So with my colon, they couldn't determine the disease pattern because my whole colon was gone. It was completely diseased over. So if you get hypothetical, that's a continuous disease pattern. So they went by their gut and said ulcerative colitis. There's also a blood test that you can take. It's called the Prometheus, and it can tell you if you have a form of IBD, ulcerative colitis, or Crohn's, or just chronic inflammation. Mine always comes back chronic inflammation. Thanks, I know I have an autoimmune disease. I have IBD, but it's not very reliable. That is why I was misdiagnosed. How we found out it was misdiagnosed is because years after my colon was removed, I was continuing to have inflammation in other parts of my body. Ulcers in my mouth, in my stomach, inflammation in my small intestine. I would have disease patterns in my small intestine that really looked like Crohn's disease. So they took a chance on a Crohn's disease medication, and it showed to work. So they re-diagnosed me with Crohn's disease. That is a little bit of my background. I also had 2 temporary ostomies, which is where they take the intestine, surgically bring it to your abdomen where it is shown on the outside of your body, surgically placed there. You take a bag that is manufactured, place it on your abdomen. I do have videos on this, and that is how you go to the bathroom. Number 2, you go have a bowel movement. You go to the bathroom. It's in this bag. I now have a permanent ostomy because of all my surgeries. I've had 19. But with that history lesson, how have I dealt with the frustrations and it interfering with my life? That is a loaded question. I was never the type to be like, why me? Why did this happen to me? And that's because, to me, I feel like everything happens for a reason. Things intervene in your life to guide you down the path you're meant to be on. Because I honestly believe that. That's just it. But there were 2 times in my life that I felt are big key moments in my life that Crohn's disease, IBD, interfered in my life, that I sat there and questioned, why me? Why do I have to have this disease? And normally I don't do that. Yes, there's times in my life that I was upset that I had this disease, but I didn't say why me. I was like, this freaking sucks. And there's times where, I get looked wearing a two-piece bathing suit, or somebody says, the bag, it's gross, or, you get comments, and there's like small moments in life that your sickness interferes. For example, I had a dance recital. I got a blockage that night. It was my first dance recital, and I wanted to go so bad, but my health interfered. Things like that. I was upset. I was determined to go, but I couldn't get out of bed. I was so sick, and I couldn't move. I had to have surgery. Like, it was things like that. But the two moments I'll tell you about. The first one is still even difficult to this day. Again, it's the first time I ever asked why me, and I was in LPN school. I, not too long before, got my CNA, Certified Nursing Assistant license. I want to be an RN. I still say want to be, even though I'm on disability, because I believe maybe at some point in my life there's still a chance for me to be that RN I've dreamed of since I was 12. You never give up on dreams or hopes, no matter what. So to me, I didn't want to go straight to college to get my RN. I wanted to climb the ladder. I don't know if you've ever heard that term, but it's when, for instance, in healthcare, the ladder for nursing, right, is CNA, LPN, RN. We won't talk about above that because I just wanted to be an RN. So next step is LPN, and that's what I wanted to do. Also, my mom's an LPN, and I thought that'd be cool to work with her. But I wanted to be a more well-rounded RN. I wanted to have the skills that you learn from being each type of healthcare worker within the nursing field. So I was halfway through the program, and I was doing a phenomenal job. I did better in that class than I did in high school. I was working hard, and I made it through to the second half of the year. It was a year-long program. I was so proud of myself because only half the kids in the class make it to the second half. The next day, I got sick. I went to school and I fought it, got home, only laid in bed. I couldn't move, I couldn't get up out of bed, and I knew the signs. I knew that meant that something was wrong, and I just hoped and prayed it didn't mean a partial blockage or a full-on blockage. I was freaking out. I went to school the next day, barely made it through the class without trying not to throw up, and running to the bathroom every 5 seconds and being doubled over in pain. Halfway through the class, I had to call my mom and my dad to come get me to take me to the hospital. And guess what? I had to have emergency surgery that day. You can only miss so many days between the first semester and the second semester. I took up all those days. They allowed me to go home the day, that last amount of days, they let me go home that day. I was so happy. Because all that means is I just can't miss any more days in class. That's fine. I will work on that. I will do my best. About 2 hours before I was being discharged, me and my dad were walking. I started to get this shoulder pain, and I just couldn't figure it out. I started rubbing it, and I was telling Dad, I was like, this don't feel right. And he was like, well, maybe you slept on it wrong. And I'm like, I don't know, something's off. And you know your body. You know when something's wrong. In your body, you are not supposed to have pain. That is unusual for a human's body. Something is wrong, and I know that. But I don't want to admit that. I want to go. I want to be in my class. Get in the hospital room, lay in the bed. The most severe pain in my abdomen kicked in. I started shaking uncontrollably. And when I say that word, I'm not joking. This isn't dramatic. I mean uncontrollably. Crying. I couldn't stop. I could barely get out the words, Dad, help me. And he was like, what is wrong? I was like, I don't. And he just bolted out of the room to get a nurse. I've never seen my dad run so fast. And when they came in, they called the doctor immediately. they x-rayed me and it showed that one of the stitches came loose and I had stomach fluid draining into my abdomen. And I needed to have a second emergency surgery because I'm going into shock. That's why I was shaking uncontrollably. That's why I was in so much pain. The shoulder pain was the initial start of the shock process. I was so upset. But at the same time, I couldn't be because I need the surgery. I don't know. I don't want to say I'd die because honestly, I don't know what would happen. You probably would, right? I was so mad because then I'd be there longer. We tried to negotiate with them, with the school. All they said was I'd have to start over. To go so far towards your dream and have to be pushed back 5 feet, 10 feet, it hurts. Because it's something you can't control, you have no control over. For it to just boot you in the face, when I got home, I had no idea what to do with myself. It's just an awful feeling to be not far away from your goals and to have them ripped from you. And please don't think that I'm looking for any sympathy or not, because that was a long time ago and it is what it is, you know. But it hurt then, and it still does now. But if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be here, you know, because I still want to help people. That's what these awareness videos are for. That's that wannabe nurse in me, the CNA in me, you know. The second one was when we moved here to North Carolina from New York. That's where I'm born and from. That's, if you ever see my tattoo here, it's the New York State with a heart of where I'm from, the city where I'm from, and then a heartbeat because that's where my heart and soul is. I'm sorry if you hear munching because Finn is eating right here. Anyway, I've been into wrestling my whole life, since I was 3 years old, and I'm not joking, because I remember watching it with my brother. So, been a fan my whole life. Well, when we were in New York, me and my brother, and also me and my friends, would go see wrestling shows. I remember the first wrestling show I went and saw. At that show, I got what's called bit by the bug. That means I felt the urge to want to do that. I want to wrestle. And when you get that feeling of just, oh, I want to do that, that's bit by the bug when it comes to wrestling, okay? So, continued watching it. We moved here to North Carolina a few years into being here. I decided, you know what? I miss dance. I miss being so active. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go wrestle. And that's what I did. I went and trained. And the thing about wrestling is that you will eventually get injured. When it comes to knowing that, I get it. And I fully don't care. Okay? If I get injured, that's what it is. I understand it, and that's where it ends. There's no, okay, that's gonna happen eventually. I understand. But I also have to remember another person's life is in my hands. So I gotta make sure I am staying safe for that other person. I was training one day, and let me tell you, training, every time I went in that ring, I was in heaven. I was in love. The same type of love that I felt every time I walked in to help somebody as a CNA, and every time I went to learn something new in LPN school. It was like that every time I got in that ring. One day, and I still remember it vividly, I got in the ring. My trainer calls out a sequence for us to do, and then we do it. I messed up. I got in the ring, and I got dizzy. I got up when I was supposed to flip over. When I went to get up, I got kneed in the head. That day, I realized that I'm putting another person's life in jeopardy because I'm being selfish. Because I'm overlooking my health. And I can't do that to somebody else. As much as it hurts, and it hurts so much. I have a hard time watching wrestling now because I loved it that much. And that I wanted that. Just like LPN school. I wanted that. And then it gets in the way. Also, for the longest time, he wasn't told I had an autoimmune disease. When he found out, treated me different. He didn't want to advance my training. He wanted to take it real slow. And then when we would put up the rings for shows, he wanted me to carry light stuff, so I'd refuse and go carry heavy stuff because I'm not a China doll. I can lift just as heavy stuff as everybody else. Don't treat me different. Don't treat me different, please. It says nothing's different. It killed me. Then I tried Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. This is a little bit of a different topic, but the guy who owned the studio questioned if I was to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wouldn't my bag get ripped off? And I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is why I make these videos, to give knowledge on things like this, because this is ridiculous. No, it's not that simple. Some of the things I've dealt with, it's frustrating, it really is, but it hurts sometimes. But how do you deal with it? That's the question. I guess you keep moving. You find something else that brings you joy. The biggest thing I had to learn, because I made my whole identity my work, because I'm a workaholic. I need a purpose. And I don't sit there and think about, well, what makes me happy? Who is Sarah and not a workaholic? I can't make work who I am. So who am I? Well, after losing all that and being on disability, I had to find things that can make me happy and overlook the losses. So I sew, I make videos, listen to music, draw, paint my nails, I don't know, decorate. I do a lot of things. Poetry, scrapbook, I don't know, I do a lot, again. But in those moments, you allow yourself to feel it. But like I say, in the grief process, you don't stay there for long. It's going to hurt for a long time. It's up to you to decide whether or not to decide how long you're going to hold it for. How it's finding a way to accept it is what it is, you know, that you have this disease. But I always have to remind people that acceptance doesn't mean you have to like it. It's just meaning that it is what it is. It's there. You have it. And you can't control that. That's what acceptance is. Once you accept that that's what it is, and you understand that it's going to happen. Some point, it's going to intervene. If you can prepare for that and just know it's going to happen at some point, you're not going to be as caught off guard as you've been in the past. And, you know, it works for me nowadays. So it's truly up to you on how you want to handle it. You can go through the grief process, just don't stay in them too long, or you can accept and keep an eye out for it and understand that it's going to happen, but don't let it ruin what you have accomplished. I may not have graduated that school, but I got halfway through it, which a lot of people don't look at it that way. I tried wrestling. A lot of people are too afraid to do that. Tried Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I tried So You Think You Can Dance. I instructed dance for a class, a master class. I was a choreographer for a little while for a showcase. You know, I think once you look at it like that, you see the good that you were able to do, and you think about that outweighing the bad. That there is more times that your IBD or autoimmune disease didn't act up compared to the few times it did. That helps. I hope all this makes sense. I hope it's not all over the place. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your opinions on how you guys handle the frustrations of your IBD or autoimmune disease, because I'd love to hear it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe and well, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.